Okay, we're gonna try this one more time. I know that it can be kind of complicated, but technology is really messy. Um, we're gonna see if it works this time. Hello again. um, okay, just tap the screen and see if it works.
Okay, hold on.
There we go.
I can
There we
hear
go.
you. You're just like super, super quiet though.
Oh, hold on. Let me take out my headphones. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know.
Can you
Okay.
hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now? Or is
A
it
little
still?
bit. It's just a little quiet.
Oh, okay. Well, I talk really loud, so it'll be fine. I
Oop,
think.
don't do that, dog.
So how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. This is exciting. What's on your story? This is your first interview ever?
This is my first interview ever as an author. It is. And I will be having another with KM, so it'll be my second, but you are officially my first interview.
Woo! That's awesome. Uh, so I just have like some questions and stuff to ask you. So you can take the wheel and tell a bit about you and your books and stuff like that and the story in the anthology.
Okay. So both of those stories are related. One takes place a couple centuries before the other. Brotherhood is the one that takes place a couple centuries before Bindings of the Sea. And it is the origin of the monster in Bindings of the Sea. Brotherhood is about these two brothers who must fight to protect what is theirs, which happens to be an island that belongs to them.
Yeah.
And they are tasked with protecting it in different ways. And ultimately, one takes a darker path than the other. And then Bindings of the Sea is a couple centuries after, and it is actually about these two teens who are part of this trial, and it's all following these sea witches and this trial to pick the best sea witch of the sea. And ultimately, the secret and the monster from the origin story comes up again, and they have to fight in battle again.
That's cool. Uh, so how did you get involved with the anthology?
I am friends with KM Robinson, and we actually are the ones who put it together.
Oh,
Um, yes, so we have two stories in it, and we actually are the ones that edited the book, if you will. We picked out these wonderful stories, and we got to see this beautiful artwork. It was really an amazing time putting this anthology together.
that's awesome. Also, I apologize if you hear my cat. She's being weird and she's meowing a lot and going crazy.
It's okay. I have my dog on my feet right now.
Dear God, what are you doing? I don't entirely. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay. So, where'd my questions go? Okay. So, what is your writing process like?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Oh my God. Um, I said, what is your writing process like?
My writing process is very I think like pantser, really. I'm like plantser, really, but I have my idea down and I do this really sloppy outline of like the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then I just kind of like, well, I know what's gonna happen, so I'll write like a couple ideas for scenes down. And then basically that's my the way that I outline and throw things together. It kind of doesn't have like a rhyme or reason, and anything's liable to change at any moment. Like it could really, the original scene might not even happen because I'll be like, no, you know what? I could really mess with this person and completely throw that idea out.
Oh yeah, I understand. So you're a new author yourself. Can you maybe give some advice to other aspiring authors or new authors that just started?
So a great way to test the waters, going back to the anthologies. Anthologies are a great way to kind of like test the waters and really just kind of, not like a practice run really, but like you can start smaller. And as I saw in the comments, Cam had mentioned that Crescent Sea Publishing does 3 anthologies a year. And that is really a good start to see like, okay, is this something that I really want to pursue?
Yeah.
But then also, when you're starting out writing, and I'm still new, so it's like, oh yeah, I'm a newbie giving newbies advice. However, the most important thing is really just keep writing. Keep writing. You will end up hating yourself and hating your writing and thinking that you're not worth it and your voice is just going to be lost amongst the sea of other books. But keep writing. Keep writing, because every single author, every single writer has the same exact feeling. Does this, like, should I even be doing this? Yes, you should. Because it's your story and your voice, and it deserves to be heard.
Exactly. Like, I think that one of the hardest things about being like a newbie writer is not knowing if you'll be necessarily good enough. But if you keep writing, you're gonna get there. That's what you have to do because it's what you love. It doesn't matter necessarily what other people think. Just do you.
Exactly. And that's the most important thing is, your story deserves to be out there too. Even if you think that, oh yeah, lay down, Maggie, sorry. Even if you think like, oh, this is old hat, like dystopian is not in right now. You know what? You don't know. Like some things never die, and just keep writing. If you need to keep it in your stash, keep it in your stash. There are authors that have had their stories in their back pocket for 10, 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
One of my stories has been in my pocket for like 15 years. So
I mean, I'm gonna let my cat out really quick. Come on. Sorry, she was like, I don't know. Anyways, so, what would your character's Hogwarts house be?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
What would your character's Hogwarts house be in?
Ooh, Zinnia from Bindings of the Sea. She would definitely be a Ravenclaw. She actually acquired a pile of books that she shouldn't have had. They were supposed to be destroyed, and she could not live with the idea that these books were going to be destroyed. So she actually like went in and she saved them, and she hoards books. So she would definitely be a Ravenclaw. I think Jaeger from Brotherhood. I don't know. I want to say like he could possibly be a Slytherin, but he might surprise me. He might surprise me and be something like Gryffindor. I don't know, because he comes across as somebody that would be a Slytherin, but deep down inside, I think he's Gryffindor.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I read that story and I was like, what is he?
Yeah, I mean he's tired of the world. Our friend Yentl is just like he's so done with everything, and he kind of has that personality, like he's so done, and he could totally be Slytherin, but I have a feeling that he'd be Gryffindor. I think he would like be a secret, like you would think Slytherin, but he's really Gryffindor.
I mean, whatever works for him.
I don't think he cares. Like,
Yeah. I don't think either. He's just kind of like that extremely sarcastic dude who like does not care about anything.
yeah, like unless it gets in his face, he really doesn't care that much. You know, like
Yeah.
leave him alone and he'll be okay.
Yeah. So we have some questions from the comments. KM Robinson is here. She wants to know, how long have you been writing?
I have been writing for something like 17 years. I mean, we all start young and we write these nonsensical stories when we're like 7 and 8 years old. But I really, really started writing about when I was 13 and 14 years old. And I started like really writing these stories. And I actually started writing in forums. And I went from writing these 2 lines to writing like 2,000 word posts. And I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I could like actually write a book if every single post I do is 2,000 words. So that's where it started.
Okay. She also wants to know, are you a book hoarder like Zinnia?
Yeah. Yeah. So true story, I own over 300 physical books. My digital library is something like 1,000 books. So
Me too.
yeah. So I definitely am a book hoarder. I love books. I just, as of lately, I haven't really read any books because I've been busy writing. I've been partaking in Camp Nano. So I have been just hacking out words left and right. And I have to say that I am a book hoarder. Everybody I know, as soon as they see anything that's book related, if they see a book sale that's coming up, they will tag me. If they see bookish shoes that have like flying books on them, anything that's book related, I get tagged in like numerous times a day. And the number one thing that I get tagged in is books. If I ask anybody, if you know me, what's one thing that I absolutely love? It's everything books and cats.
Me too. Like, I mean, I've got these like that one little shelf and this big shelf behind me, but that's not even it. Like, there's one over there, there's one right there, and then there's one like right in front of me. I have so many books.
Yeah, I have 2 little tiny bookshelves in my bedroom, and I have one in my office. The one in my office is actually for ARCs that I got sent, and that's like my special shelf, if you will. The
Yeah.
copies that I've been gifted or I've been sent to read. But my downstairs bookshelf, which I will have to take a picture and put that on my Instagram, I actually had that custom made by my father-in-law. And it is absolutely stunning. However, I didn't think that I would fill it like I did, and I did. I filled it all, and I have to like still shove books in nooks and crannies because there's not enough room. And he came over and he looked at it and he was like, I should have built a bigger shelf. And I was like, well, if this wall was bigger, it would have been a bigger shelf, trust me, because
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I've never seen like a custom made bookshelf, honestly. That'd be kind of cool to look at.
Oh yeah, I'll have to take pictures of it. I might drive people crazy because it's kind of cluttered right now. I put like trinkets that match my color schemes up there because I do rainbow shelves. Um, I know that drives people bonkers too, but
Those
I
are
do
so
rainbow
pretty
shelves.
though. But like, I don't necessarily have like a scheme. It's like I just put books wherever, and I try to keep like authors together, like that are like authors that have written multiple books, and I just like stick them together and try to keep them together, even if they don't match. I just keep them together because I'm like, I don't want like Marissa Meyer all the way over here on one end and then still have her over there. It's weird.
Yep, that is what my bookshelf in my bedroom is for. Books by, I have series, and if I have multiple books by the same author, that comes up into my bedroom. So, because I ran out of room downstairs.
Wow. That's cool. Um, like, what are you currently writing? Like, or can you talk about that at all?
I can. I am currently writing during the Camp Nano, I'm currently finishing up my book, Veiled Allurement, which is a Cinderella retelling. And that is a goddess twist on Cinderella. So it's three sisters, and basically, I'm not gonna like sum it up because that probably will give it away. But instead of a shoe, she's cursed with a mask and sent to the human realm, and things go from there. And then on top of that, I'm also writing a story called Hunter's Truce. It is a retelling on the Big Bad Wolf. He's a werewolf, and it follows his point of view when he's facing the three pigs, which is the royalty of the kingdom.
I feel like we don't get a lot of retellings of like Little Red Riding Hood or anything like that, but like definitely not of just like the Big Bad Wolf and the Three Pigs. That's different. I'm kind
Well,
of excited for this now.
yeah, no, it's part of our villains anthology that will be coming out in October. So definitely check that out. But I agree. Um, After reading Scarlet, I was kind of
Yeah,
like, like this, yeah, that's, Little Red Riding Hood, and that one doesn't, it's starting to catch on, but you never see the big bad wolf from the Three Little Pigs. Like, you never see
yeah.
nursery rhymes. Aside from Cam Robinson, she hits those nursery rhymes. Um, but honestly, like the big bad wolf, I absolutely love this character. He's my favorite. If you thought that Jaeger was rough, Nick is super rough. Um, and the big bad wolf in this happens to be an assassin. So,
As soon as I heard assassin, I was like, give me now. I'm one of those people who's like just a sucker for like assassin books. Like I used to not really like Throne of Glass, and then it just hit me, and I was like, I love this.
I love Sarah J. Maas, but I haven't read that series. And I'm kind of glad I haven't. I've been putting it off because I fell in love with her A Court of Thorn and Roses series.
Yeah,
I put that one off because I knew I wanted to write this, and I was like, I don't want to be influenced by anything.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna keep honing in on my Nick and not so much Sarah J. Maas. But that is definitely like high up on my to be read list.
Yeah,
And I compare Nick to Dexter meets a werewolf. Like,
that's insane. And I want this now. How did you come up with that?
I, it was after I read Scarlet, and I, I want to say that he was based off of Wolf, really, but he wasn't at all because he's completely different. But he started out with like an idea of being Wolf, and then I was like, no, I'm getting like these different feelings. Um, he's definitely like a butcher, and that's what he is. He starts out as a butcher in the shop, and I thought that was an interesting twist because he's the big bad wolf and he's going after pigs and he butchers pigs for a living, like, you know.
That is slightly insane, but I love it.
He's by far like my darkest character, and he's cruel without meaning to be, and yet you can't help but actually adore him. And he actually originated in a forum where I write with my friends, and everybody loves him. And I don't know why, because he's a psychopath, like honest to goodness, a psychopath. But he just comes across as being normal. And I think that's why people love him, because it's normal for him. And he's just like,
I think it's just like, even though they're like an actual psychopath, it's like they're those characters that you like love to hate, and those are the best kinds.
yeah. And I think the way that it's told, you won't really hate him because you're getting to see like what this is, how he came to be known as the big bad wolf, and why he was made into what he eventually becomes. So it's like is before his epic thing that happens, and it changes him for the worst. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think that one's going to be the one that people really, really like, because everybody seems to like Nick, and I don't know why.
I already like it, and I don't even know what this is. So what helps you focus while writing?
You know what? Music actually helps a lot. I have kids. I have a 7-year-old and I have a 4-year-old, and I have animals, and it gets really chaotic here sometimes. But to tune everything out, I put headphones on, and they're not earbuds. They are like the muff ones, and they block everything out. The house could be on fire and I wouldn't hear it. Maggie, yeah. As I say, my dogs, you know, like, yeah, stop. Yes, but that is what I do. I listen to music, and I actually create lists that I actually made available to fans on Spotify. If you guys have Spotify, I have lists on there, and you can kind of get a feeling for what I'm working on when you go to my playlist there. And I will, honest to goodness, listen to a song on repeat a billion times. Like sometimes it's the same song for an hour if it's giving me good story vibes, or like I need to hone in on a specific emotion or thought. I will play a song a billion times so I can really get that.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Although, like, the song that I've had on repeat for, like, the past week is Backstreet's Back. I don't think that could get me into any writing thing, but that's just what I've had, because, like, I don't know.
Whatever. I've actually been listening to Alan Walker. What song? Tired ends up coming on, and then there's Alone. Alone I've had on repeat. Repeat.
That's a good song, though.
It is. I listen to a lot of his music, and I've also sent some of his music to Cam to help her write too.
I mean, he's great, so.
He is. I'm so bummed he was in the area recently and I couldn't go.
He was?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Where are you from?
I'm from Massachusetts.
Oh, wow. Why is, like, all the authors I talk to, like, up all the way up there, and I'm down here? I'm in Kentucky.
It's funny because I say the same thing. I'm up here and everybody's down there.
Well, like, you're in Massachusetts, KM is in Pennsylvania. I don't know where everybody else is, but It seems like everybody's just up in the north.
Sorry, my dog,
Oh,
my
you're
puppy.
fine.
She's bad.
I mean, I have a kitten, and somehow she was knocking over literally everything in my room 5 minutes ago, so I was like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
my puppy's
Animals
getting
are...
antsy. Maggie.
Yeah, my cat was getting antsy. She was like, let me out.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
bad puppy, bad kitty. Oh,
um,
Cam, yeah, we will be looking for arc readers for our villain
ooh,
for our
me?
villain anthology. So if you are interested in being an arc reader for that, yeah.
I would always be interested in being an arc reader for pretty much anything, but especially that.
I have
Um,
to say,
yeah.
I've read the stories that are going into that, and I'm not going to give anything away because I refuse to. However, the stories that we're going through right now have all been really amazing, and that's all I'll say.
I'm ready. I'm ready. So what are some favorite books or authors that you have that like inspire you?
Okay, that's really hard. But I have to say, one of my authors that you'll find me talking about on the live broadcast that I do for Young Adult Edition with KM, you'll hear me talking about A.G. Howard all the time.
Oh, she's
I
great.
I love A.G. Howard. The Splintered series. I
Yeah.
love Alice. My dog's name is Alice. And I love her Alice retelling. Morpheus will forever be like my favorite male character just ever. Loved him. It gave me like Labyrinth feels coupled with Wonderland. It just amazing. Love A.G. Howard. Leigh Bardugo, amazing writer. I love her stuff. And I mean, Tolkien was really what threw me into Tolkien, and C.S. Lewis threw me into fantasy. And I have to say, if it wasn't for reading those books, then I might not have been into like the whole fantasy thing. I love fantasy. It is my favorite, absolute favorite. You can do so much with it, and I can't say enough good things about C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien, A.G. Howard. I mean, this is like that. I'd like to thank the Academy of Authors. Like,
I totally agree. Like, I haven't actually read Narnia, and I feel kind of sad, but I do plan to. But I've read Tolkien, and I've read The Hobbit, and I think I read the first Splintered book, and I read Roseblood. And Roseblood's kind of different, but I love Splintered. It's so weird.
it really was. It was like I always compared it to like a Tim Burton take on Wonderland. Roseblood, I love Phantom of the Opera. Roseblood wasn't amongst, I mean, if I were to rate it, Splintered, hands down, is my favorite one. Definitely. I just, you stop. Roseblood, Roseblood. Splintered was definitely my favorite. I mean, it was such an inventive take on Wonderland, and to bring in fairies, like dark fairies, that was just amazing because it not only took on Wonderland, but it made it something that was like super fantastical, you know, like
Oh yeah.
fairies, fairies in Wonderland.
Yeah, that's not something you'd expect in Wonderland. Although most of the things in Wonderland you wouldn't really expect to be there, but
That's true. That's true. But I loved the take on the Netherlings, like that's what they were called, and
yeah.
her way of writing and Leigh Bardugo's way of writing, those are modern styles of writing that I would love to be able to put out myself. Tolkien and Lewis, they're harder reads. I read The Hobbit when I was 14 years old. And because my mom was like, you are not reading any children's books, like you're beyond that. And she's like a lit buff, and she's like, here, read As I Lay Dying. Here, read Tolkien. Here, like. So, I mean, that's what I grew up reading. I didn't actually read Harry Potter until like 2 years ago because I know I watched all the movies because my cousin loved it, but I never really read it because I was reading like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and those series are huge and the books are huge. Like,
yeah. Like, I'm 18 now and I didn't read Harry Potter until 2 years ago when I was 16. And I had grown up watching like all of the movies, and my grandma had gotten me like the entire box set of the DVDs and the box set of all the books. And yet I didn't read them ever. And then I was just like, one summer I was like, I need to do it now. The time has come. Let's do it.
Exactly. You know, like I had been teased for not reading it, and I was like, all right, I just need to see what the fuss is all about. Like, why does everybody keep talking about it? So I read it. I was 29, 30 when I read it. And I was like, okay, I need to read this. Finally, like, settle down. Like, why is everybody fussing? Because, I know the gist of everything because I've seen all the movies and everybody talks about Harry Potter. So
Yeah.
I kind of knew what was going to happen. I knew where the story was going. But I didn't actually, it's different. It's really different when you're reading a book and watching a movie. So, yeah, I did it.
Especially because it feels like, to me, like the first two books, whenever like they made the movies, they were so on point. Like they barely missed anything.
Yeah.
And then once the third one started, it's like they started cutting out more and more. And I think it's because the books got like huge as it kept going on. But like they actually did the movies pretty well, I would say, except for after like Goblet of Fire, then they kind of got weird. But other than that, like those movies were really like good.
Yeah, they were. They did. They did a good job. I think they did a really good job creating the worlds because that really was the selling point for those books, I think. The world that she created because, like magic, you know, the Chronicles of Narnia had magic in it. You're talking about like The Hobbit and like the Lord of the Rings series, like books like that had been around. So it wasn't like she had this new idea, you guess, but like the world building was epic. So
Yeah. And I feel like if you're a person who like doesn't really like to read or something and you want to try to get into Harry Potter, you can watch the movies because they did such a good job that like
yeah,
it doesn't really matter if you read the books or not because they did them so well.
exactly. And I have to say, like, I applaud anybody that reads anything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it opened up doors for so many young children and adults, getting them to read, which was the most important thing. So,
And honestly, so did Twilight.
exactly. That's, like it might not be everybody's cup of tea. It might not, whatever, but it get a generation to read.
Yeah, and like I know not a lot of people like Twilight, but I'm that person who still does, and I reread it every once in a while for like the nostalgia factor because I mean Twilight's bad, but it's also great. It's so
Well,
bad that it's good.
the question is, what team are you on?
Ooh, that one's hard. I'm like I'm just Team Bella.
Team Bella.
Because like I don't really like Edward or Jacob. To me, they just kind of like are both really uh protective and obsessive over her, and so I'm like I'm all for her being her own person.
Yes, I agree. Maggie, get down. I agree, but I was Team Jacob. Like I was totally Team Jacob. I think in my adulthood, I would say I would be Team Bella.
Yeah. Back then I
Like
was Team Jacob because I was like he's the nicer one and Edward keeps leaving you. Why would you stay?
exactly. Like why you pine after a man that's just gonna leave you time and time again because it's best for you? No.
No, he just wants to leave because he wants to eat you. Like, I don't think that's a very functional relationship there.
Totally not.
No. But all in all, Twilight definitely was like next to Harry Potter was like definitely the turning point for I think young adult writing and children's writing because it's like I don't think young adult literature would be what it is today without Twilight or Harry Potter.
I don't think so. I don't think that I'm going to say we as authors, I don't think we as authors would consider the venues that they took, you know, like because they were like the groundbreakers, if you will. I mean, it's always been around. There, you have like Tamora Pierce and everything, where she had her lead girl character, not even a young woman. She was a girl, and she was leading these stories. But I think it really woke up the younger generations. Like, look, here, read a book.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense than whatever I just said. I think that's what I meant, and then it just like, I don't know. But yeah, you're totally right. Like, they're books like that that make people want to read, and it's like, that's why I said it feels like young adult literature wouldn't be what it is today without them, and I think that's just because it's caused people to want to read more now than they used to.
Right, because, and you know, I feel like it's not just kind of dry. It's really, it's set towards young adult minds. You know, even if the topic is a little bit more mature, it's set so that you can really relate to it. Even if you're in, you know, the Hunger Games, you can still relate to Katniss. You know, like, even you're never going to be in the Hunger Games, but you can relate to her. You can relate to protecting your family. You can't really relate to fighting with knights and stuff. You know, like, you at least have to like originate with something that you can relate to.
Yeah.
And I feel like all the new books that are coming out, all the new stories, it's more relatable, and we found a way to connect with those young minds. And I'm not saying that the older books are irrelevant, because they're not. They never will be. But we've just found a way to really hone in on what is delectable to read, I guess.
Yeah. And like a lot of older books I feel like are harder to read because of like the language that they used at the time. And like when I was reading The Hobbit, I was like, I can't really relate to any of these people, but I like the story, and I like the journey that they take to get to where they are and everything. And it's like older books aren't necessarily like, I think it's just harder to connect with like classics and stuff because it's like, um, I don't entirely know what I was about to say. I don't entirely know what I'm gonna say. Like it, I don't. Mm, it's hard to put that into words. I guess it's like they had a hard time like understanding what teens generally like to read and what relates to teens because back then teens are kind of weird.
Yeah, and I think that our styles have changed too. Like the way
Yeah.
that books are written in general.
Yeah.
Just the style has changed. And I think that's what makes it so edible for teens is that
Yeah.
it's easy to read. And that means you have to focus less on what you're reading. And it's easier to just like eat it in a day, you know?
Yeah. And Tamora Pierce is like a great example of that because I feel like even though like Harry Potter happened and everything, she was probably one of the main turning points for like girls to really get into reading because it's like there's a main female character who isn't like a woman or anything. It's a girl and she wants to be something more than what she's supposed to be. And I feel like that relates to a lot of people nowadays too because like with all this like feminism and equality and everything, it's like we women want to be more than what society thinks we should be. We want to do more than that, and we want to do what guys think we can't do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um. How do you juggle writing and real life?
That's very difficult. I write when I can. That's basically what it comes down to. I write when I can because my kids wake up at the crack of dawn and I can either stay up late or I can sleep. I don't generally stay up late. I told you in a conversation I go to bed early. I really do. I go to bed at like 8:30 at night.
I totally understand because like if you have like a long day and it's like I want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I honestly like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Sometimes I'll feel like really energetic and I will just pound out those words. But generally speaking, I wake up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, get my coffee going, and then I sit down, I catch up on my emails and all that, and then I start writing. My kids wake up, I tend to them, I go back into writing. And then I take breaks so I can actually like take care of the house and my children.
Yeah.
And my animals. But that that is how I do it. I do not stay up late. Not really. I just don't. I can't because my kids exhaust me during the day.
Yeah.
I catch up during the day and I crank those words out.
I mean, yeah, kids probably they're crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like they're energetic. They
Yeah.
they tire me out. And I have a 5-month-old puppy and a border collie. I just
I totally get it.
yeah. I mean, I'll let everybody go outside and I take my laptop outside. I make sure nobody's gonna like run out into the street or anything.
Yeah.
And I just write outside. I get what I can get done. I make candles as like my side job. And while I'm making those, when they're setting up, I pound out words. So it's like a lot of multitasking throughout the day. You know, like if I'm standing, I probably have my MacBook on the counter beside me, probably like typing out words. I'm not like a huge eater, so it's not really an issue. I'll drink my coffee. Like that's what
Yeah.
I pretty much live off of. But like I pound coffee and that gets me through the day.
What do you use to write? Like, do you use like Google Docs or Scrivener or anything like that?
I actually just use Google Docs.
Okay.
Super easy. You know,
Yeah.
like I was going to be using Storyist, but my other computer pooped the bed, and I didn't think to like to buy it again. And well, I didn't buy it in the first place. It was a trial. But
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Google Docs can do it because that's all I need. That's all you need to write. You don't need, unless you want like something that you can go in and do like your character sheets and stuff. I do have Scrivener. I don't actually use it, even though I bought it. That you can like get into your setting, your character sheets, and all that stuff. But generally, I just use Google Docs like to actually write I do Google Docs, and storyboard stuff, I go into Scrivener.
Okay. What is
Cam, I do.
Story?
Yeah, I do wake up at 5 a.m. Cam.
Yeah. What is a Storyist? I haven't even heard of that.
Stories is a Mac only,
Yeah.
and you can actually use it on your iPad and your MacBook. And I don't know if it goes through your iCloud, so it like syncs. So if you
Yeah.
write on your iPad, it will show up on your MacBook.
Okay, that's cool. I never heard of that. I'll have to like try that out because I might be getting like a new laptop for college and everything. So I feel like that'd be a good thing to use.
If I'm going to like, I prefer, aside from like the cloud syncing,
Yeah.
I hi Dental.
I'll send them a wave.
I actually prefer Scrivener because you can export, like if you want, actually export that into like an EPUB formats. And
Yeah.
Storyists, you can't really export in as many formatting. Ask all the questions.
Yes. Yentel, ask all the questions. I'm
Gab, I can
almost
actually
out.
hear you.
Ask
I don't know
something.
what happened, but I can actually hear you now.
You can?
Yeah.
Because like you're cutting out. I don't know what's happening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just like your face is frozen,
Oh,
but I can hear you.
well. Was it hopefully frozen like on a smile and not like a dork?
I can screenshot it and send it to you later. It's kind of weird.
Awesome.
Yeah. There, I
Okay.
took a screenshot.
Beautiful.
Yes. Oh, KM says try tapping your screen once.
Did that do anything?
No. It might be just like weird service things. I don't know.
I don't know. I do live in the boonies, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Uh, well, I'll just keep going then, and it'll fix itself when it fixes itself.
Yeah.
um, so have you ever dealt with like writer's block?
Uh, absolutely. Absolutely. I get ADD when I'm writing,
Oh yeah.
so I will actually start kind of working on another project, and this kind of might sound like crazy to do because I'll work on that side project and at the same time still think about the other one.
Yeah.
Wow, you're making a mess out of that other story. No, it actually does help because I go, oh, that reminds me, I should do this. And I might actually completely rework that scene. Because if I'm stuck, I might be stuck for a reason. Or it could just be like my poor outlining skills. Who knows?
Do you have any advice for like people who are going through that and what they should do?
Um, basically what I said, but maybe not writing another story because that doesn't always work for everybody else. But if you're
Yeah.
at that roadblock, consider looking at it from a different view. If you wrote it differently, would that get you somewhere else? If you're stuck, if you wrote it differently, would it change all of it, or would it just change what you're stuck on? So kind of like step back from it. And even if you have to take a little break from it, just think things through. Like, what scenario, if it changed, would it make this easier to write without goofing up the story itself?
That's an interesting way to think about it.
I sometimes have good ideas. Sometimes.
I think you usually do. Like, I just first, like, I just met you and I'm like, wow, she's interesting.
Me Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, does anybody in the comments have questions? Because I've run out. I'm kind of sad. Um, I'm trying to think of one. Um, so like, what makes you want to write retellings and stuff?
We actually talked about this on a young adult edition episode, and it was all about retellings. And what intrigues me the most is everybody knows these characters, but you can work with what if. Um,
Yeah.
and it's the what if that's really interesting. Like, what if the big bad wolf was an assassin? You know, what if he lived a double life? He was a butcher and an assassin. You know, like, what if the three little pigs were royalty and they were royally screwing up the kingdom and they weren't protecting werewolves? You know, like that. Kind of like just drop some hints as to what the story's about, but you know, like, but what if that was the story? And what if the big bad wolf wasn't originally the bad guy, but he was made into it, and all you see is him huffing and puffing and trying to blow the castle down, you know?
Yeah.
Or you know what if Alice was not Alice? What if that girl is an imposter? And what if there are fairies in Wonderland? You know, it's just like all these possibilities, and you can work so much with it because people love these characters, and it can either work for you or it can work against you because people do love these characters and they will let you know their opinions.
Yeah. I'm usually pretty good with like retellings though, except for the Roseblood. That one, I don't know how I feel about Roseblood to this day, honestly. It was strange. But I do love like a lot of different retellings. Like the Lunar Chronicles was so like epic and completely different from what I think anybody could expect from a retelling because like when do you ever hear about like Cinderella being a cyborg or something? I mean, That's cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the kind of things that kind of lay groundwork. Um, the what if? Well, what if? And that, as a writer, even an aspiring writer, your what
Yeah.
ifs can't really be that crazy. Like, I mean, they aren't as crazy as you think they are, because the what ifs is really what makes an amazing story. Like, that's where so many of these outstanding authors, that's where their ideas started. What if?
Yeah.
What if Cinderella was a cyborg? What if,
Yeah.
you know, like, what if the wolf was genetically modified? Like, what if?
Yeah. I know, like, Throne of Glass apparently originally started from Sarah J. Maas being like, what if Cinderella, like, uh, was actually an assassin sent to kill the prince or something? I don't know. It was something weird like that. And Throne of Glass isn't even like a Cinderella retelling, but that's what got her started. And so I think that's like really cool things that like you just think, what if? And then you get a weird twisted story out of it. And those are awesome.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is really, that's really what is so interesting about retellings, is that those what ifs, it makes the story.
Yeah. Um Now I'm kind of curious. What are some of your favorite retellings besides A.G. Howard?
Um, you know, let me see. The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. That is the Vasilisa the Beautiful retelling, and I
Yeah.
absolutely loved that story. I love the folklore of Vasilisa the Beautiful. If you don't know it, I do suggest reading the original folklore. And if you haven't read The Bear and the Nightingale, please do.
I haven't read either of those, so I must get on that.
Yes. That happens to be one of my favorites, Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. Um,
Oh, I love that one.
I know it is an amazing retelling, and I love Goose Girl anyway. Again, Goose Girl and Vasilisa the Beautiful have to be my favorite fairy tales, which are uncommon. You know, you don't really see either one of those. Um, Not that it is a retelling so much, but Uprooted, again, that's like one of my favorites. Modern fairy tale, if you will.
Yeah.
Let me see. I have like this huge list. We just did a retellings episode, and I have like this huge list. KM
I have
actually,
Uprooted, yeah.
yeah, KM actually, she did a retelling of Miss Muffet,
Yeah.
and Spider in there has to be like one of my favorite characters. So that's my favorite Muffet, Miss Muffet and Spider retelling.
One retelling that I wish would come out is like Swan Lake, because that's like one of my favorite things. And I know it's not really like a fairy tale necessarily, but like I like the story.
Exactly.
And I know that like the Nutcracker is kind of the same thing, except like they've made retellings, I think, more of the Nutcracker, but I don't ever see any of Swan Lake, and that's one that I really want to see because that story is so interesting to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love
What
that story too. Also, The Brave Little Tailor. Um, I love. I wish I might have to do a retelling about The Brave Little Tailor, because I think that would be interesting.
I've never heard of that one, but is that where the Brave Little Toaster came from? Because like I thought that you were about to say the Brave Little Toaster, and then you said Brave
Yes,
Little Tailor, and I was like, wait a
I'm gonna
second, is
do.
that where that movie came from?
I'm gonna do a Brave Little Toaster retelling.
I'm gonna do it. I call it.
You can. You can.
I can't. Like I should do like a retelling of like the little engine that could.
Yeah.
This has become like one of the greatest conversations.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But I think that wraps up my favorite retellings. I have like a huge list that
Yeah.
when I'm not on the spot, I could come up with that list, but I'm on the spot right now.
I have an anthology that's like a bunch of Alice in Wonderland retellings that I could recommend to you called Falling for Alice. It is really weird. And um I got it a few years ago and like I know one of the stories in there, I think it was like the first one and it was called Drunk. And it's literally if Alice touches anybody, she gets drunk.
Wow.
And it's the greatest thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever heard of that, but you know, like, hey, they took the what if. They took the what if, you know?
Yeah. They took the what if and now she's drunk every 5 seconds. I don't know, it was such a weird story to read, but like the other ones in there are like also really weird, and I feel like that's what happens when you try to what if Alice. It's like you get so many weird things.
Basically, because there's a lot of groundwork that's weird anyway. So
Well, yeah. I mean, Lewis Carroll, I feel like he was probably like a really strange guy.
he definitely
I,
was. He was an
yeah,
interesting.
he was probably like the Tim Burton of the 1800s or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um so we've been at this for an hour and I feel like we might need to wrap up now just because it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.